Hey everybody, Real Estate Ninja here. I hope you're doing well. Thank you to everyone that's been hitting the subscribe button. This channel's been blowing up lately. Got a story about US factory building, and it's very important to realize that we are in a time unlike any other because the world's splitting into two, and the government knows that there is only a certain amount of time before we are cut off from the rest of the world when it comes to the supply chain. I have an insider because this is going to talk about how factory building is exploding. And this is going to lead a bunch of people astray because a lot of economists are going to go, hey, there's lots of factories being built. That means there's going to be lots of jobs. Things are doing good. You know, we're going to hit that soft landing. But that is not the case. What I believe you're seeing is the infrastructure being built before the business is there. I have an insider in the semiconductor industry that is really big in the industry. And what he does is he works on the machines, the robots that build these chipsets and the tools. And one thing he told me about a year and a half ago or a year ago was that the demand or the understanding and the need to build these factories, these chip factories, and move them from Taiwan here, and it's happening right now before our eyes, is so scary. It's so vital because first off, China has purchased pretty much all of the tools in order to make a certain type of chip. He says they own them all. They're trying to dominate the entire world's chip industry. And this is one of the reasons why they want to move into Taiwan and take over Taiwan. He said, if that happens, we are in very serious trouble because the amount of time, the time delay it would take to build all of the tools in order to build these robots, to work on the robots, to service these robots, build the clean rooms, all that kind of stuff would be so much that we would go without chips for a certain amount of time. It would be catastrophic to our economy, to our national defense, and so on, right? Well, I'm going to show you this story out of Wall Street, and I believe that this is going to now at the back end they talk about China and our dependence on China, and the last president was trying to do something about that. This president is not. I think we're going to look back in history and we're going to find that there were presidents that were doing business and getting paid by other countries so that these other countries could dominate us, because these presidents didn't care about us, the US. They cared about their power in the global realm. And I think it's very important that we lay a groundwork of understanding that just because a factory is being built doesn't mean it's going to be filled with a bunch of people. It means that the property was purchased, the building was built, the infrastructure was there, and it was built on debt that is about to go bye-bye because our debt markets are imploding. And our government knows this. That's why our government is borrowing money at record amounts. Okay, now on the flip side, because that sounds really scary, this is where you shine. This is where during chaos it brings opportunity. That's why the Chinese word, there's no such word for crisis in the Chinese language. It actually means, that word means opportunity. During the Great Depression, 1 out of 4 people were unemployed. Things were bad, right? Well, no, there was 3 people that were employed. There were 3 people that I could sell things to. My great-grandfather owned everything cash. He had an old tractor and he used to get made fun of by his friends that had all this amazing equipment, but they didn't own that equipment. It was when the tractor was really coming into its own. And during the Great Depression, they all lost their farms. Since my grandfather never had nice clothes, he just played checkers every Saturday. That was his passion. He loved to play checkers down at the local hardware store. He had cash. He went and bought all of his friends' farms and was able to employ them. And even though their friends were all completely depressed because of it, he said that they were very grateful to him because it was him that bought their farm and employed them for the rest of their lives instead of a bank that just took it from them and someone that they didn't know took it over. That's the opportunity that's coming. He would warn people. My father would tell me, he would talk about it, why you don't want to be in debt. And then when everybody got wiped out, he was able to buy those places. Those are the opportunities that are coming. There are going to be a lot of empty factories because production is going to fall off of a cliff. And you have to continually look for the opportunity in these times and not just get depressed because all this stuff's going bad. This should be the most exciting time of your life. Here we go. This story's out of Wall Street. It says U.S. factory construction in a historic spike after years of going nowhere. Amazing, but can something like this last? They say, this is amazing. I'm not sure how long it will last, but spending on construction projects for manufacturing facilities in the US continues to spike in a historic manner. In September, 17.5 billion, up by about 150% from the stagnation range before the pandemic. For the first 9 months of 2023, spending on factory construction jumped to 140 billion, which is up by 131% from 60 billion in the same period of 2019. Excuse me. Get someone a drink. And 59 billion in 2021. This is simply because the world's splitting into two economies right now, and there is panic going on in the government, the Federal Reserve, a lot of companies that used to rely on countries like China to build their products as cheap as possible and sell them to us. Now they're panicking that they're not going to be able to have any products at all. So they're building factories here. But I want people to understand that just because they're building a factory doesn't mean they're going to be able to employ it, like put people in it, because they will for a certain point, but because our economy is collapsing. So there'll be less orders, but the infrastructure will be there. This is where I'm telling you, there is amazing opportunities. Some of these companies are building, I'm going to be really honest with you. They're building buildings right now for people like you and I to take them over and own them. They're going to be mismanaged, and you need to be ready for these opportunities. These are opportunities that I look for all the time, and I'm preparing myself for mentally, spiritually, physically, because it's a lot of work, but it's an awesome responsibility. And I truly believe that. I believe there are homes being built right now by people that are over leveraged, and I'm going to be able to take them over because I was being meek. And that's what you really need to understand. It's going to take work. It's not just sitting around and waiting for some opportunity to fall in your lap. You need to be out there active and working and diligently seeking these opportunities. It says, for example, just this week, German industry giant Siemens announced that it will invest 510 million in the US to build factories, 150 million for a factory in Texas to manufacture electrical equipment, for data centers, 220 for a factory in North Carolina to manufacture passenger rail cars and offer overhauls of rail cars and locomotives, and 140 million for factories in Texas and California to manufacture electrical products. See where this is going? We're moving from China into America. This is an exciting time, but it's going to throw a lot of economists off. It says part was inflation, but construction costs have cooled. Over the 33 months since January of 2021, the producer price index for non-residential construction has surged by 35%. Over the same period, spending on factory construction has spiked by 195. I want you to realize too that this is data like this can be throwing off the GDP, where this GDP is looking red hot, and you don't realize it's because we're losing our manufacturing base in China. So we're rushing to get it over here. The PPI has actually declined a little so far this year, and the huge year-over-year gains have been whittled down to just 3.8% by September. And there are a lot more dollars involved. Construction spending just covers the buildings. Companies invest in factories in the US to make high-value technologically advanced products such as semiconductors and vehicles. They are highly automated factories full of industrial robots. Then there is the other investment activity to support the factory, including infrastructure construction. The whole package counts as investments in GDP. What's even more important for the economy is what comes later when the factory starts producing, creating its own ecosystem and economic activity. And I personally believe that we're not going to get to that moment because the consumer is breaking down right now and being destroyed by these higher interest rates and higher inflation at the same time. And what's going to happen is the consumer's going to stop spending altogether in 2024. These factories will be built, but they will not be filled with people. Okay, so there'll be opportunities there because the sun's going to come out tomorrow and the cycle is going to restart itself. Taxpayers are shanghaied into subsidizing factory construction at the local, state, and federal level, and this has been going on forever. It says, what is new is the disruption experienced by global supply chains. They practically all run through China. during the pandemic that led to shortages of all kinds. In addition, there are all kinds of frictions, disputes, uncertainties, and tariffs between the US and China. US manufacturers have to toe the line in China. Even Musk, a big defender of free speech, is mouse quiet in China about free speech. His gigafactory in Shanghai is worth a lot more than free speech. Think what's going on here. He even knows how big of a deal if China walks away from an agreement with him, what it would do to his companies. It says here, the construction boom took off in the spring of 2021. Over a year later, in July of 2022, Congress passed a package of subsidies for select manufacturing industries, such as semiconductor makers. This is a big deal. Semiconductors right now, if we do not get those factories built and finished in Texas and some other states, and move that manufacturing base from Taiwan over to here, we are in very serious trouble. That is not a joke. We would be, without the semiconductors, obviously produce vehicles and things like that, and appliances to be able to keep the economy going, right? Keep people employed, keep money flowing. But our defense, that's the scary part. It says, but construction spending doesn't immediately happen when the law is passed. The government takes its time actually handing out the money, and these big construction projects themselves take a while time before construction can even start. So a portion of those subsidies for factory construction are likely to provide further fuel going forward. By output, the US is the second largest manufacturing hub behind China and has a greater share of global production than the next three combined, which are Germany, Japan, and India. The majority of motor vehicles sold in the US are assembled in factories in the US. All major foreign brands have assembled plants in the US. Now, and I want to reiterate, this has been a battle for decades and decades. And the only reason these cars are being manufactured or assembled in America is because of the government stepping in and essentially forcing companies to do that by giving tax subsidies and things like that. Because companies wanted to always leave. They've always been trying to leave and do as much as they can in other countries because our labor gets so expensive. But you have to realize this too, because people are screaming and yelling for more money through their strikes and things like that, walkouts. It's because of the Federal Reserve creating inflation. That's what people need to realize. The Federal Reserve, which is a private bank, is robbing us by at minimum 3%. And that's a straight up lie. It's never 3%, right? Or 2% mandate. Sorry, they're 2% mandate. We mandate that inflation, your currency that you're handed every year, is going to be destroyed by at minimum of 2%. That's what they're telling people. People need to wake up and realize this. That is why over time, gold keeps going up. You go look at a long-term chart of gold and you're going, okay, this is why. You look at other things like homes, they always go up. It's because of the interest rates and that inflation, that 2% at minimum. I don't believe that at all. But what I'm telling you is that is what their official words are. Officially, we're here to destroy your currency by a minimum of 2% per year. And nobody gets it. They just go, la da da. Hey, my kid's got a soccer game this week. They have no concept of they're being destroyed. You know, as frustrating as that is for me to share, that how people just don't get it, I want people to understand that's where you should be stoked. Because you try, I try. I mean, shoot, I'm trying to reach tens of millions of people and doing my job, and I'm sure you're doing your job too. You can't feel sorry for the people when they go lose their house. I mean, I've got friends that know what I do for a living, and they won't listen at all. I'm like, you have enough money to sell your rental right now and pretty much pay off your house. No, I'm not going to do it. Why? Well, I want to leave my kids a house. Well, why don't you leave them a house rather than a bunch of debt or a bankruptcy? Or, I mean, this is like, look at your cash flow. Oh, I'm cash flowing over here. Well, how much do you pay in rent? You pull that away and you pay off your house. You have more in cash flow because you have more money in your pocket because you don't have to make your own mortgage. You can't get through to people. You just can't. They always judge you by what you wear, what you drive, blah, yada, 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 yada. I get it. So I'm not going to feel bad. I'm just not going to feel bad. I did everything I could to warn people. I know you've done everything you can to warn people. So we're going to go crush it. And then those people aren't going to want to hang out with us. It was the same thing for me in 2010 when I was out crushing it, buying construction equipment and flipping it, doing all these little side hustles. Homes had fallen, and nobody wanted to talk to me that I'd warned in 2006 as I was selling all my houses. So I guess in the end, we're all going to crush and we're going to be happy. We're just going to have to upgrade our friends, I guess. You guys ready to upgrade your friends? Type 1. I'm being honest. And I tell that to my friends. And I'm like, you know, I'm going to have to really find some cooler friends when all this goes down, because you guys are going to be all bummers to hang out with. And they all laugh. They think it's a joke. I'm not joking. I'm absolutely not joking. I don't know how much more I can, you know, I've even said, I'm like, I don't want to hear anyone cry at a dinner party because you're losing your houses when this thing goes down. You know, like the fire guys at the fire station, you know, you're a real bummer or doom and gloomer. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm stoked. I do great in life. I'm just trying to warn you guys, just like I tried to warn you about some sickness that was coming in 2020. I tried my hardest back in 2019 to let you all know and tell you the dates are coming out and trying to give you proof. Nobody went to, oh, you're a real bummer, dude. You're a real bummer. Sure, the whole world's going to be affected. Like, oh, okay. I don't know what to tell you guys. Well, we were able to save 8. That's what we saved. You know, hey, I don't know what to tell you, because the ones that are coming in the future, those are going to be really scary. Those aren't a joke. I hope you guys got something out of this. Thank you to everybody that's been hitting the subscribe button. This channel's blowing up. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you. The Real Estate Ninja is out.